something that's not, you know, putting our faith in something that we can't really see the numbers on, so to speak. We're hoping that we'll get it in return, but we don't know where it's coming from. And so we might meet somebody in a meeting 6 months ago, and then they refer us to somebody else who isn't really interested, but their grandma needed something, and then grandma turns out to be our biggest account ever. Where we never could have seen that coming if we didn't have that faith of putting ourselves out there in a serving attitude. So, we have to look at networking as a long game. And again, we won't be able to see the payoff, so it does take some faith. And it's not usually about that what I would say is the first level sales. Again, it's possible when you go into a meeting, you meet somebody, especially if you have a lower end product, Julie with her candles, if somebody's, very, possible that somebody could buy something, but the real, the real benefit to it is the longer term and the amount of people that you're going to get around over a period of time. And so we have to really focus ourselves and change our mentality of how we're doing networking, not thinking about us and thinking about the other people that we're there to serve. And it's something that as a young man, of course, what was I thinking about money and, that's the way humans think. But as you get older, you realize that when you serve people, it always comes back to you in one way or the other. And, one of the great things, again, about networking is that we're in this world now where we don't trust anything. And we don't trust people. We don't trust what the media says. We don't trust what anything walking down the street. We can't even trust that what we're seeing in front of us is real because of AI and, deep fakes and all that kind of stuff. And so having something like networking that allows us to connect with another human being and to serve that person one-on-one, you can't replicate that in other digital forms. And so we're craving that as humans probably now more than ever before. So I think this is, another huge benefit of networking. So if we know our philosophy going into networking, then really the question is, what are the mechanics? What do we do when we're going to a meeting such as this? And networking can be a business networking meeting. It could be, because the same principles apply whether it's a informal kind of fun networking thing. You got invited to a party at a friend's house, and it's a bunch of people who were into a club or whatever. It's the same concepts. And if we go to some place and we're thinking, how do we relate to these people? A lot of times I think people get in trouble because they'll feel themselves under pressure that it's about, I got to go to this place and I've got to shake 20 people's hands. I got to get 20 business cards or whatever. And I would say that that's the wrong way to do it, because I think that the quality of the conversations that you're having with somebody at a meeting is much more important than the quantity. I always say if you can go to a meeting like a one-on-one meeting and you can connect with 2 or 3 people over that hour and a half that you're there, find out a little bit about them, get to know them a little bit. That is far more valuable than, handing out your business cards to 20 people who don't know you, don't care, and won't, not going to remember you next week. So, if you think about it, let's say you met 3 people at a meeting. And, with one-on-one, of course, Brian's got meetings going, darn near every day. But so if you got to 3 meetings a month, 3 times 3, whatever, by the time you're a year, you're at over 108 people. So the difference is that you've built 108 relationships over that year's period of time. By focusing on the small part of the meeting, it doesn't seem like you're doing a whole lot with those 1, 2, or 3 people that you're meeting, but over a period of a year, you're getting through to a ton of people. So you don't have to worry that feel pressure like I'm not getting my name out there, so to speak, because not only are you getting it out to those 108 people, but they're getting it out to people that they know, and so on and so on. So if we looked at, how do when we approach a meeting, some of the etiquette of what we should be doing. One thing I would say is, when you're trying to talk with people, don't jump in and start trying to sell your thing, so to speak. If somebody asks you directly, what do you do, and what, about your product or service, they're genuinely interested, great, but really what we want to focus on is talking about them. And one of the things that unfortunately is just human nature also is sometimes people tend to gossip a little bit, even as adults, we tend to say, well, somebody, this member or whatever, and that will always come back to bite you because you never know who somebody is related to, who you're talking to, et cetera. So we always want to focus on, not talking about others, but building them up, saying how great this other person is, and just basic stuff like not trying to recruit for other groups. It's perfectly fine to be part of different groups, and a lot of us are in different networking groups, but don't cross pollinate between the groups when you're at a meeting, so to speak. um, the sort of the next area, what do you do, for those introverts out there? This is always tough for somebody like me. I'm an introvert. If you ask me what I want to do on a Friday night, do I want to go to a party or I want to sit home? It's like you'll find me on the couch, guarantee it. And it's just natural. But so as introverts, we have to kind of force ourselves into this stuff. We have to force ourselves into the meetings. And what I found though is that us introverts out there, if you force yourself to walk in that door at that meeting or attend that Zoom meeting, when you're done with it, you'll feel great about it. You'll feel that high. You'll feel like you connected with a lot of people but it's getting yourself to get through that initial, fear or whatever you want to call it, that hesitation to get in that environment. So, there's basic things that, like it sounds so simple, but smile. When you walk in a room, it's so funny. Sometimes you'll go into a meeting and you'll see a couple people standing around and they just look like they just had a colonoscopy or something. It's like, geez, you gotta at least fake it. Put on a little Hollywood smile there. Um, and the one technique that I've found also when you're going into a room and you don't know a lot of people, you want to look for groups of people, either one person by themselves, three people by themselves, or an odd number. You don't really want to walk up to two people that are having a conversation and just try to add yourself to that conversation, because you never know what those people are talking about. It could be something, a very serious topic, that it's an intimate topic, whatever. And the odds of that happening are too great. So either choose one or choose three. And it's funny, I'm part of a Toastmasters group, and I talked about this concept at one time, and I had a guy come back to me a couple of weeks later, and he said, "Yeah, I tried this thing you were talking about. I actually did. I went to this party, and these two girls are over there, so I went over to talk to them, and I just got totally stonewalled. They just basically ignored me, didn't want to talk to me." And he said, and he thought about what I said, and then he said, "Oh, I'm going to go talk to this group of three people over there," and he just fit right in. And he said, "I just couldn't believe it, the difference between trying to approach two people versus three." So the stuff actually does work. And little things, sit in the middle of the room. We all tend to, especially when we're going to a new meeting, when we want to sit in the back, or off to the side, sit in the middle of the room, force ourselves to be a part of things. And then, of course, the get rid of the crutch, the phone, which I mean, how many of us have been sitting in a meeting and, everybody's sitting there staring, look at their phones, by themselves. That's not what they're there for. So force yourself, turn off your phone, get rid of it somehow. Um, and so, and then of course, how do we talk to people when we're, at a meeting? What do we say to them? And people get all wound up about, what do I say, especially these introverts? Again, I'm speaking for myself, but it's as simple as, "Hey, my name's Robert. What business are you in?" And so people get too concerned about the conversation you're having, and even the question, that Brian brought up at the beginning. The simple question that I always go to, this was probably the first question I ask anybody is, "Oh, so are you originally from here?" And that gets the conversation started. And then, so all you need is a few questions like that. And if you start asking questions of people, that's when people start automatically liking you. So that creates those relationships right away, and that you're able to create that rapport with them just by asking them questions, because it's natural for us humans. We want to talk about ourselves. Um, and so, if we have a good conversation with people, a lot of times, unfortunately, we tend to end it there. And we're like, "Hey, great, Bob's nice meeting you," whatever, and then maybe we'll see him 6 months later at another meeting or something. The best way I've found is that if you met somebody, connected with them, got their card, whatever, you like the person, say, hey, hey, I'd love to get together sometime for a cup of coffee and find out more about your business. And that's it. Just put a statement out there. You don't have to ask them out on a date right there. I mean, you just gotta. It's just you're just kind of throwing it out and seeing the reaction they give you. And then, more importantly, later that day, if you've got their card or something, your email, shoot them a quick email or shoot them a text that said, hey, Bob, or hey, Mary, it was great seeing you at the meeting today. I enjoyed, whatever we were talking about, blah, blah, blah. And love to get together sometime to find out more about your business and leave it open. And people will reach out if they're interested. And you do that with enough people, and you're going to start creating those relationships outside of the networking group. And that's where the power comes in. So there's a variety of different things, that we can do that will really enhance what we're getting out of networking. But we have to, again, just look at it as a philosophy. And the bottom line philosophy is we're there to serve other people because that will always come back to us. And so if you can kind of picture yourself, here's today, and in the next month you met 9 people that you met over the networking group. It doesn't have to be one-on-one. It could be somewhere else. But, of course, Brian gives us plenty of opportunities to do that. And, if we meet those 9 people and then all of a sudden a year later, we're at 108 people. And if there is not a ton of business in there, I don't know what to tell you, because that is where all the relationships will be. You will get a ton of business and you will get relationships. You will meet friends. You'll meet spouses, all kinds of things, just doing networking like this. So again, networking, we're in a networking group, so we're all obviously think it's, got some benefits to it, but I really think that's one of the best marketing ideas out there. It's just that we have to do it correctly. And again, focus it in the right way and the right philosophy. So, and of course I will pitch the 101 for anybody. I don't know everybody here, so I don't know if anybody's guessed, but Brian's done a fantastic job of putting this group together because, it's very low cost and there's no pressure, being able to just go to meetings whenever you feel. I don't make all the meetings, not even close. But it just depends. You go on series in your life where you're busier and not, and whatever. No pressure to show up, no pressure to show up with leads. And, I get that where there's other groups like B&I type of groups that are more driven towards that. And that's fine. You can do those too. But I personally like the way the one-on-one is set up. And again, it really comes down to the quality of people, which comes back to, the quality of the person that started it and why he started it, which was, again, to serve other people. If you ask him why he started the one-on-one group, is because he saw a need of business owners going through and losing their businesses, and he wanted to make a change and wanted to help them. And look where the things are now. I mean, how many members are in your Facebook groups now, Brian? What, I mean, 80,000
Well,
something?
well, online there's 70,000 in my
Yeah.
Facebook groups, and then there's 237 paid members.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. And that's all from just,
Yeah,
going out there and
thanks.
trying to serve people and make a difference, and you've
Yeah.
obviously been rewarded with that from all the relationships you've made and everything. So you're the perfect example of what networking is all about. So but
Mm.
yeah, so at this point, we want to open it up to if anybody wanted to add any ideas, any thoughts, what has worked well for them in the networking arena, or thoughts about the one-on-one, anything. I just kind of want to put it open, if you will.
Robert, and I'm going to stop the recording. Okay, I turned it on. So yeah, we're here, you know, at the 101 roundtable meeting, and Robert Poole's been introducing his business and providing tips about networking. So I'm going to